minutes.
And thank you very much for being here with us today. I think I'd like to put on the record the acknowledgement of the huge work that was done during the period, as the previous speakers have said. I wonder whether in 2 years' time, or in a year's time, when you're back here again to talk about this year's accounts and perhaps reconciliations, I hope we will be as forgiving, because it was a unique period, and I think we should acknowledge that. At the same token, we should ensure that all good practices are maintained as well. I want to focus on the area of cash flow for three people, for employees, for businesses, and for government, for revenue. To finish the contribution you made there, what's the total liability, do you believe, as a result of the EWSS and the PUP payment?
It's difficult enough to set out what the liability will actually be, because there's numerous factors that interact here. It depends in the first place on what salary somebody was on in January, February. The normal salary that they were on. Then it depends on whether they were on the PUP or TWIS. It depends then on how long they were. I
appreciate the different circumstances. I suppose, have revenue at this stage made any projections of what that liability might be?
Well, the total between TWIS and PUP is probably going to be in the region of 7.5 billion. And that if you take an effective rate of somewhere between 10 and 15%. At 12.5%, it's a liability in the region of 900 million. The liability on PUP will tend to be lower than if you're on PUP for the full duration, particularly having regard to where the rates went from 350 to 203. Like there was 240,000 people that were on PUP, continued through, and then the numbers have gone up again. So there's probably 250,000 people that will be on PUP for most of the year, and their liability will be very low, having regard to the reduction.
So there could be €1 billion of a liability that would need to be collected in the region.
In the region.
So €250 million each year for 4 years is a significant amount of money for all concerned, for government, and for those people managing their finances. I think it's really important how we communicate to people in January how that liability is, and that the standard sort of form where you have to look at paragraph 4 won't be good enough. I think a very clear communication will be needed.
In paragraph 1, I'd say, rather than paragraph 4.
It's also that we don't put fear in people in January, where they're presented with a figure and the mechanism of payment and the period of payment isn't clear. So that have you, obviously you've communicated that liability to the department, because obviously that will impact on the collection of taxes and the expected collection of taxes as well.
In the normal course, we feed in all our information to the department.
The second area of cash flow then is for businesses, and there's a lot of businesses that have been saved by the TWS and the EWSS. They would no doubt be closed without that government intervention. But a lot of them have raised with me that the off-ramp for that, whenever it happens, will prevent a cash flow issue, because they will effectively go from having a lot of support to none very quickly. And we need to look at how that's managed. Have Revenue had any discussions with the department as to what will happen? And is there any intention to review at this stage what will happen with TWSS and EWSS next year?
I think the Minister has made it very clear in the context of EWSS that he'll be reviewing. The legislation provides a mechanism for him to review how it will go. In a way, it's to run to the end of March. I think in the current finance bill, there's been an indication that will be continued to be looked at, having regard, and now we're dealing with the COVID restriction support scheme. The problem with revenue, we use initials for everything, so we're now looking at CRIS and how that will work. And we also have, I think it's really important, and I think it's kind of neglected a lot, the whole debt warehousing provision that's in there. Like there's over 2.2 billion euro in debt warehouse that would have been payable from March to now, which we've effectively parked, which has allowed businesses deal with other cash flow issues that they have. But like kind of
that will be a significant issue for those three groups that I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation.
and like I think it would be really good if we were here in a year's time or 2 years' time, and we're talking about this in a historical way, and dealing with the problems that we might find that we've done something, and I think it would be great if people were given out to me for collecting taxes and all that goes with that.
Thank you, Deputy Nessa Howard.